Are you looking to take your personal finances to the next level? Well, you're in the right place. Welcome to the Monday Money Tip Podcast, presented by I Was Broke, Now I'm Not, with your host, Joseph Sangle.
Well, welcome to the Monday Money Tip Podcast, presented by I Was Broke, Now I'm Not. My name is Joseph Sangle, and I am fired up to help you live a fully funded life. It is a great Monday. I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, Megan Hibbard. Are you fired up today?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Up.
We're talking about one of the best topics ever today.
Yes.
What is that?
We are talking about budgeting.
Yes.
Get excited. So today we are sharing 4 steps to budgeting. So our question is, I like the way you teach budgeting. It's simple and easy to apply and has enabled me to finally have a budget that works after many previous failed attempts. Can you devote an episode that teaches basic budgeting so I can share it with my friends and family? Yes.
Well, yes, we can. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about budgeting. And if you're already great at budgeting, I think you're going to learn some tips or some reminders that are going to be helpful to you, particularly as we're still in the first month of the year. And if you know someone who you've always wanted to help start budgeting, but you feel like it's difficult to teach them, feel like they won't listen to you, our hope is that you'll send them this episode of the podcast and be able to help them and really be able to help them. So let's talk about the current money events section. Let's go.
Now it's time to get caught up with our current money events.
This portion of the podcast is sponsored by I Was Broke, Now I'm Not. Take your finances to the next level by utilizing our financial tools and calculators. Visit iwbnland.com and click on tools. Budget templates, debt freedom date calculators, retirement calculators, investment calculators, they're all right there at your fingertips and they're all free.
Yes. And so for today's current money events section, I am going to talk about the disappearance of COVID-19 and its impact on the economy.
Wow.
Isn't that awesome? It is estimated that the mitigation and potential eradication of COVID-19 virus in the first half of 2021 will have at least a $17 trillion impact on the economy.
Wow.
This is according to one economist. That was 17 trillion. That's why they're willing to spend billions to make it go away, right? Because if the payoff is trillions, if you could invest billions and get trillions, would you do it?
I would do it.
How would you get the billion, though? Because I need to talk about your fundraising efforts. If you have access to $1 billion, talk to me. Anyhow, governments have doled out terrific piles and piles of cash money. Green, cabbage, guacamole. Almost all of it has been borrowed. Did you know that? Some more national debt for all the countries. Get ready for taxes to increase. Get ready for inflation. Get ready for interest rates to increase. This is perhaps one reason why Bitcoin has soared. While I speak, recording this episode, it has cleared $40,000. It was $5,000 a few months ago. It was a few cents a decade ago. This is because unlike other fiat currencies, which is what we have, a fiat currency. Did you know that?
I did not.
I thought it was a car that was made in the 80s. It has a fixed amount available with a fixed curve of expansion until a total of 21 million Bitcoin have been issued. Did you know that? There'll never be more than 21 million Bitcoin. It's crazy. Now back to the 17 trillion impact and what I'm talking about. People are sitting on record piles of cash. Green, cabbage, guacamole. That's what we were talking. What do you call it? Money?
Just money. I don't know.
Just money?
Guacamole? Really?
Yeah. I don't know. I just made it up. It's green. Mostly green. Hopefully it's green. If it's not green, don't eat the guacamole. It's a bad avocado. Just good. See, look, you get food tips here.
Life lessons.
Yeah, and life lessons, including money stuff. Anyhow, the cash payouts went to nearly everyone without regard to their actual need for the money. By our studies, and confirmed by many other larger studies, about 1 out of the 3 people who got it actually need the cash. So what are the other 2 out of 3 people doing with the money? Most of them have put it in the bank. Mm-hmm. Of the first round of stimulus through the Families First and CARES Act bills, there was roughly $2 trillion directly put into the pockets of individual citizens. Did you know that?
That's a lot of money.
Less than half of the money has showed up in the economy and spending. So now at least another $1 trillion is sitting somewhere, and another $1 trillion is being doled out as we speak. This is a huge, everybody say huge, and vast sum of money that is waiting to be unleashed as consumer confidence increases. So as we talk about this current money event section, my recommendation is, if someone is asking, is anyone asking me what I would recommend?
That's why we have our own podcast.
No, this is where you're supposed to say, Joe, what would you recommend?
Joe, what would you recommend?
Thanks for asking. That's awesome. I would recommend you own assets, albeit assets that you have access to convert to cash quickly as needed. Think stocks, right? Think things like that. Gold, silver, things like that. So that inflation will carry your dollars upward with the revaluation of your assets. If you carry cash, mark it down here. It might be 5 years from now, 10 years from now, but mark it down. Those dollars are going to be greatly devalued. This is why you can have a great pandemic that really cripples the entire world economy and have a record stock market. It's because the dollars are actually worth far less. So insure, number 2, get some assets. Make sure the majority of your stuff is assets. Your house is an asset, right? So if your dollar, you need $1 million to buy what a dollar can buy today, well, then your house will be worth the same, or else you won't sell it unless you can't pay the bill. And then ensure you fix, the second thing is to ensure you fix any debts right now that you have at the incredibly low rates that are available in the market today. Why would anyone choose a floating interest rate on a mortgage with the rates that are out there today? They should not do it. So I encourage you, fix your rates at the low interest rates now. They won't stay there. And own assets. That's going to help you greatly in the long term. Joe Sengel, money person at your service.
Money person.
That's it for today's Current Money Event section. The Inflation CARES Act, Bitcoin, 17 trillion impact. Get rid of no. It's not it. I have one more thing I want to say. How are they getting rid of COVID? One way is herd immunity. Another way is this vaccine. And I can tell you right now, I'm going to let my mom and dad get in line before me, but not too many other people. I'm going to race out there. I'm going to put my arm in front of them like at the bus or whatever, because it's like jab me and stab me. Pfizer, BioNTech, Moderna, or the Russian one.
Oh, gosh.
Let's go. No, maybe not that one. I do want to have it fully certified.
In a back alley somewhere.
Anyhow, no back alley. No back alley vaccine. But that's how they're making it go away. That's why they're willing to spend the billions on that to be able to get the trillions. Yeah. It is ultimately, when you boil it all down, huge amounts of these decisions are made, yes, for care of people, but also money always plays a role. Don't hate on that. That's just a fact of the world. And so I just wanted to share that. Now, that is it for the Current Money Event section.
There we go. You need to change your business card to money person.
Money person.
Joe Sengel, money person.
Yeah. Your favorite?
Money person.
I can't even say your favorite. Your money person. Is that good?
Yeah.
It's a good title.
We'll go have those printed.
You're the designer, so design them up.
I got them. All right. So our success story this week comes from Carolyn. And 5 months after attending an FLE, so our financial learning experience, it's when we did live events.
We still do them. We have several coming up. I'm fired up about it.
Thankfully, we're thankful for a new year where we can start traveling again. It's great. So she wrote in to share how things had changed for her. And so she said, when I spoke to you, I had 13 credit cards and other things that were holding me back from having margin. I want you to know that I've paid off 11 of those cards, and in 3 months, I'll be finished with the last 2.
Woo!
Yeah. I also have paid down half of another bill, which also will be finished in 3 months from now. Praise the Lord, I'm doing it, and it feels so great. I'll start double payments on the car after the other bills are paid to finish up the $3,700 I have left to pay. Thank you for caring.
That's awesome.
Is Carolyn.
Wow. I mean, for most people, it's not this fast. But Carolyn either has huge income or low balances or a feverish desire to become debt-free and had savings on the sideline. But I will say this, even if it takes you 24 months to achieve what Carolyn has achieved in 5 months, it's still a win, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
13 credit cards gone, car gone, double payments on the car. That's incredible. And so I think it just shows what happens when somebody just says, that's it. I'm done living this way. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm drawing the line in the sand. I've had enough. We call it an IHHE moment here, an I have had enough moment. It's obvious Carolyn had one. And so we're grateful. That's why we do this, Carolyn. Congratulations. That's awesome.
Yep. Okay, so before we get to our featured question, we just wanted to let you guys know And if you haven't heard, tomorrow night is a very special night. So
Yes.
tomorrow night, Tuesday, January 26th, if you're listening to this live, at 8 p.m. Eastern, we're going to be hosting a free live online event where we'll be teaching through the I Was Broke Now I'm Not ladder. So we'll share the 9 rungs to your fully funded life, and we'll break down how you can start living your fully funded life today. So it's a new year and a great time to start clean with your finances. So make sure you join us for this free event, and you can learn more and sign up just to reserve your spot. So it's a free event, no cost, but it's at iwbnin.com/live.
Yes, and we hope everybody is able to join us. If you're listening to this podcast after that moment, you can find a replay at iwasbrokenowimnot.com/ladder event. Ladder event. And we're fired up about it. Got a big announcement we're going to make. Pumped up about it. Let's go. But again, we're here to help you, and we're going to talk about budgeting today. And so we had a question that was asked.
Yes.
What was the question? And then we'll dive into helping with the question.
Yes. All right. So our question for today was, I like the way you teach budgeting. It's simple.
Thank you. Again.
Sounds such a compliment. It's simple and easy to apply and has enabled me to finally have a budget that works after many previous failed attempts. Can you devote an episode that teaches basic budgeting so that I can share it with my friends and family?
Absolutely. And this is so important. I view this as like the 101 level skill set that has depth to it that can become a 201, 301, 401 level. I'm mentioning it as if it's a college class. But it is fundamental and foundational to winning with money. You can win with money without a budget. I mean, that's a fact. But you cannot maximize money like you can when you have a budget and you're telling every dollar where to go. And so we're going to tell you a 4-step plan, just 4 simple steps. That's all it's going to take, 4 simple steps to be able to win with money using a budget. The first step is what?
Yes, the first step is, number 1, prepare a list of all your expected income and expenses for the upcoming month.
Yeah. And so you can prepare this list. You can do this with a pen and paper. You can type this into a computer. In a minute, I'm going to demonstrate a tool. You could type it in there. The whole key is to just prepare that list of all of your anticipated expected income and expenses for the upcoming month. That's very important. You know, we're doing this at the end of January. It's an ideal time to plan for February.
Right.
And it's okay when you're writing down your income and expenses. I just want to say this for the planners. It's okay to estimate some expenses like utilities, gasoline, things like that. You're not going to know to the penny what those are until you get the bill or until the month is over and you're done driving. But here's what I want you to do. I want you to just estimate a little high. That way you never overspend what you plan. And then be sure to review your transactions from the past couple of months, from your credit card statements, your bank account statements, just to make sure you don't have any surprises. And I say them with quotes around it because you would have known if you had looked at your transactions. So by looking at your transactions, you'll know them. And also, one more thing that's really important is I want to make sure you include savings for known upcoming non-monthly expenses. We reduce it to known upcoming expenses, the KUEs, the known upcoming expenses. These are things like Christmas, special days like birthdays, anniversaries, weddings, quarterly, semi-annual, or annual insurance premiums, vacation, car maintenance, stuff that you know is coming, but they're not monthly. It could be a membership dues, homeowner association fee. It's something that's not due monthly, so you tend to forget about them, even though if you were thinking about it, you would know they're coming. So once you've written all those down, that takes on average, just so you know, probably about 15 to 30 minutes for the average family.
Yeah.
The more expenses, the more kids, the more cars, the more things that are consuming money, the little longer it'll take. But this should take no longer than 15 to 30 minutes to do that step. Okay? After you've done step number 1, then you go to step number 2, and what's that?
Yeah, step number 2 is enter your income and expenses into the free budget tool located at iwbnin.com and then click on tools.
That's right. So we want to make sure you enter your expected income and your anticipated expenses, including those known upcoming expenses, into a budget tool. The reason this is important is you could do this on a piece of paper, right? With pencil, paper, and a calculator. But most people, that feels a lot like 7th grade math class, and they don't like that.
Yes.
Plus, when you think about it, you're wanting to be able to make adjustments rapidly and be able to see exactly the difference that makes in your finances. If you have it on paper and you're having to recalculate it every time, you're probably going to have to make 15, 20 adjustments to get this thing to balance to exactly zero. And you're going to be really hating budgeting if you're relying on your calculator and you hand typing it all in. Plus, it's open for a lot of error. And so in my engineering world, we learned about Six Sigma and getting down to only 3.4 defects per million opportunities. And the way to do that is to error-proof things. And it was founded in Japan, and we call that poke-yoke. Did you know that? Poke-yoke, error-proofing. There, you learn stuff. I'm telling you, we're full service here. And so I want to error-proof it. And using a calculator, man, with my fat fingers, that's going to cause some problems. And so I want to use this. And so I'll show you right now. We want to go to the website. And if you're watching on YouTube, you can see this demonstration. If you're listening to the podcast, make sure you make time to go to the podcast about 15 minutes in and find out where we're at. But you go to tools on this wildly popular website, click on budgeting. And down here, there's a budget tool. And depending on how you're paid, if you're paid multiple times a month and you're below rung 2 on the ladder, you need to use the weekly budget. Otherwise, the monthly budget. I'm going to use the monthly budget. They're totally the same with the exception that you're able to make adjustments by week or by every other week if you're paid that way. So you can zoom in and out on it. And I'm going to zoom in on it here, and I'm going to change it to the month of February since that is the month that's coming up. And in this example, I've got some example numbers. So I want to put the example numbers back up there for you to look at it. Take a look at the numbers, and we're going to describe them for you if you listen to the podcast. In this example, we have $3,400 in income that we anticipate coming in take-home pay. And then we got money going out to charitable organizations, the emergency fund, the mortgage, the utilities like electric, gas, cable, internet, water, and trash service, couple car payments, car insurance, car license plate fees and taxes that we're saving up for. It's a known upcoming expense. We also have oil change, groceries, dining out, children's clothing. We also have credit card payment and life insurance, babysitting. Does this sound like life?
Yeah.
It just does. Mm-hmm. A cell phone bill, medical bill, spending money, and entertainment. So we have all those, and we got numbers next to them, and I'm going to walk through those to show how to put them in. So let's go back to the budget tool, and I'm just going to type them in. When you type in $3,400, it of course turns yellow. Income minus outgo is not balanced to exactly zero, so it is yellow saying caution. If you don't give this money a name, well then it might fly away. So we're going to put in all the expenses, and maybe you could read them out to me as I type them in real quick.
Okay, so the first one, we did the income. The next one is the charitable organizations, which is $400.
Okay.
Emergency buffer fund.
So the reason that's $400 is we're tithing. It's the Christian principle of tithing on our gross income. Mm-hmm. We have a whole episode on one of our number one listens to, and should we tithe on the gross or the net?
Yep.
Okay. And so they're tithing on the gross. And then we have an emergency fund of how much?
$200.
Okay. What else?
And then your mortgage is $910.
Okay. I know some people in some high cost areas saying, where do you get a $910 mortgage?
Come on down.
South Carolina. Okay.
All right. The next one is electric and gas, and that's $80.
Okay.
Cable and internet is $100.
Okay.
Water is $25.
Okay.
Trash is $19.86.
I'm going to round. So I want to stop here. Let's go back to just focusing here. I want you to know that it's okay to round to the nearest dollar. Like some people want to have it to the penny, but the nearest dollar is okay. Okay. That's okay. Is that okay?
That's okay.
I'm not sure if Megan is 100% okay with that, but it is okay. Some of us, I feel like it's worthwhile to take 8 hours to find a 7-cent wrong entry just to balance my checkbook to exactly zero. But there's many others. I know there's some podcast listeners who are with me. Okay. So car payment is how much?
Yep. The car payment is $405.
And we have another car payment.
Yep. Is $185.
And car insurance?
It's $120.
$120.
And then you have the car license plate fees and taxes, which is $33.33.
Which I'm going to round to 33. And then gasoline.
Gas is $250.
Okay.
Oil change and maintenance is $30.
Okay, great.
Groceries is $450.
Okay, I'm going to stop there. Let's go back here. $450 is the number for this family. For this example, we're going to say it's 2 parents and 1 kid, a young kid. Okay? So $450. I know if you have 5 kids, your number is not going to be $450 unless you're growing at all. Okay. Okay. Let's go back to the budget here, and we're typing in. This is step 2, entering our income and expenses into the budget.
Yep.
Okay.
All right.
And how much is restaurants?
The next one, dining out, is $100.
Okay. Clothing?
Children is $100.
Okay, we got to buy some clothes for our kiddo. We just went negative. We're already minus $8.
We still got some.
So let's go back and let's talk. I want you to hear this. Just because your budget went into the red when you're planning it and in this step does not mean you should freak out and stop typing in everything else. You want to get everything into the budget that you feel like you need to cover this month, so that you can make the best decisions on if you do have to trim stuff out or reduce it or eliminate it. You're making the decision with all of the different players in the game. That's really important. Okay, so let's continue. What's a credit card bill?
So credit card number 1 is $125.
We kept going. I'm glad.
Yep. Life insurance is $25.
Okay.
Babysitting $50.
Okay.
Cell phone $90.
Okay.
Medical bill $40.
Okay.
Spending money $100. And entertainment $80.
And entertainment $80. So we get everything typed in, and it's overspent by $518. Okay? It's overspent. It's in the red. It's the dreaded red. Okay? So let's go back and let's talk about a couple things about this step. You've entered your income and expenses into the budget tool. The reason this is important, and this is only hard on the first time you do this. If you're typing with your fingers and toes, or at least it feels like that on a computer, it may take you 20 minutes or so to get all these expenses in there. So now you've invested about 45 minutes total from steps 1 and 2. It's okay not to balance to zero, but it can be helpful as you type in and find different transactions that are taking place to start identifying ways to save money. That's going to help you with this next step. So what's step number 3?
Yes. Step number 3 is make income minus outgo equal exactly 0.
Trademark. That's right. Exactly 0, trademark. And the reason we say income minus outgo has to equal exactly 0, trademark, is because if you take the E from exactly and the Z from 0, it is easy. Do you see what I did there?
I do.
Get fired up. Trademark. Okay. So the goal is to get it balanced to exactly 0. And the key is we're doing this before the month begins, before we receive the income, before we spend it. That is the huge key to budgeting. Is your planning. Proverbs 21:5 says, the plans of the diligent lead to profit, as surely as haste leads to poverty. You must plan. A plan says before the event happens. Okay? And that's the big problem for most people is they don't plan it, so it blows them up. So let's go back to the budget example. And again, if you want to watch this, you can watch it on YouTube. The part where we're balancing it to exactly 0 is around 22 minutes, and you can check it out. Okay? So let's look at this and see ways that we could reduce it. Maybe we could say, hey, we're going to reduce our oil change. We don't need it this month. Now, you can't bump it out 12 months in a row, but many people can skip 1 month. Just check your oil, make sure it's good. So we delete that one. And let's say, hey, we're going to consolidate some trips, and we're going to reduce the gas bill to $175 instead of $250, $75. And I found it can be helpful to highlight things as you go through and make changes to say, hey, this is areas where we're going to have to focus to save. So I'm just going to highlight these as we go along here. Let's say with groceries, we discovered, let's go back here, that you're able to reduce groceries because you went and looked in the pantry.
Yeah.
And come on.
There's a lot in there.
We got a lot of food stored up in the pantry. Got a lot of stuff in the freezer. If you're like me, you got a garage, another freezer showed up in there, and we got this other fridge that showed up in the barn. It's the old decrepit one that I put out in the barn, and it's got a freezer. Luckily, it has nothing in it. But hey, you could save some money, some serious cash by using stuff out of the pantry and out of the freezer for a couple weeks and have some very mystery meat Monday. Isn't that awesome? And as I like to say, you can have canned spam and canned salmon, call it spammin'. Be delicious. Mix it with that quinoa or quinoa, if you want to pronounce it that way. And then maybe for dining out, let's go back to the budget. You could cut it in half. Now, here's a big important thing. You cannot take these to 0. A lot of people try to take dining out to 0, fun money to 0, entertainment 0. That won't work because it's just not realistic. And so let's say for the kids' clothing, we found a way to save money, and we found a way to save money by using Goodwill. and buy Play It Again Sports or whatever it might be. And then we go to the credit card, and maybe the minimum payment is $55. And it depends on where you're at in the rung of the ladder on whether or not you adjust the credit card payment to the minimum. Quick news flash, if you're on rung 2, rung 3, or less, then you need to go to minimum payments. And only in rung 4 should you get more than the minimum payment. And that's when its turn is up on the debt snowball. Okay? So let's carry on. Let's go back to the budget and we look at childcare. And let's say, hey, we're gonna trade babysitting with somebody. Can we do that? Yeah. Have you ever traded babysitting yet with Logan? Let's go back to the screen here.
No. We have had babysitters, obviously, but we mainly use our parents, and they don't really require
your parents
trade.
do it for free. That's awesome. So you can use your parents.
Yes.
Money saving tips from Megan. Awesome. So we're $133 away. We can go back to the budget, and let's say spending money, we're going to lower it to $60. And entertainment, that's a specific form of spending money. Let's say now in the single family, Jenny and I can use entertainment money if we're sharing it, like if it's a shared expense for the family. If it's individual, it has to come out of our spending money. So let's say we lower it to $50 and we're $63 away. And so how do you get it to balance to exactly zero? Well, the answer is different for every single couple. And so I just want to speak to y'all saying, hey, what works for Joe may not work for Megan. What works for Megan may not work for me, and it may not work for any of you all. It has to work for you and your family and your situation. That's critical. The whole key is that the universal truth is income minus outgo has to equal exactly zero, trademark. Okay? So let's say in this example, we go back to it, that we can reduce the emergency savings to $137. And all of a sudden, what just happened?
Turn green.
And so let's go away from the budget. And I just want to speak to y'all to say this is hugely important. We've made it equal exactly zero, but we have a fourth and most important step of all. And what's that?
Yes. Number 4 is live according to the budget.
You've got to live according to this budget. You've got to live according to the budget. If you did steps 1 through 3, but didn't live according to the budget, you just wasted your time. And that's why all through this step, I was talking about, hey, you've got to not lie to yourself. You must be truthful. Because if you lie to yourself, the only person or persons you're hurting is you. And you've prepared an unrealistic budget and you just wasted a bunch of time. That's what you did. But by preparing a realistic budget, then you can see yourself making progress. And in this example, for this family, they reduced their savings, their emergency savings to $137. But some may say, we need to save way more than that. And that's right for them. But what if I said this couple had $4 in savings right now? Is 137 a win? That's a huge win. And so I really encourage you. Now, let's give them a couple more tips for living according to the budget. What's some tips?
Okay, so one major tip is make sure to put a line item in your budget that says, I forgot.
Yeah.
So a lot of times a surprise expense occurs and you're not prepared for it. And so you might feel like you have to go in debt to cover this expense.
Yeah.
But if you have that line item in there that says, I forgot, or oops, or just in case, then that money can help cover that expense.
So let's just show it here. Let's go back to the budget and we can just type in, the budget is modifiable. So you can type in, I forgot, or we forgot, or you can put in Joe forgot, whatever it might be, right? And put money next to that.
Yeah.
Force it to balance to exactly zero, but don't give yourself a permission to stop following your budget. And give them another tip.
Yep. So the next one is if 2 people are spending money, so if both husband and wife are spending money, both should be buyers and owners of the budget. So it's hard for just one spouse to be a part of it.
That's so huge. They've got to be buyers and owners, okay? So as a buyer means you've bought into the process that, yes, it makes sense that we should plan our spending. Owners means you both had a hand in creating this budget, that you got to put input. If somebody comes up with a plan and I had no say in the plan and they just say, follow this plan, I might immediately have questions. I'm definitely not an owner of it immediately. No, I might look at it and say, hey, this is a really good plan. I'm roll with it. But good chance, since I didn't have any input to it, that I'm not going to be 100% on board right away. But if I got to have my say along the way, even if it didn't go my way all the way, I'm still going to become an owner of it at another level. And so it's really important.
All right. Another one is don't lie to yourself. So you kind of mentioned this, but
Yes.
the only person you're hurting is yourself when you prepare an unrealistic budget. So when you cut the grocery budget down to $10, or when you cut out dining out, or no spending fun, or no entertainment, anything like that, it's
Yes.
not a realistic budget that you can stick to. So you're automatically probably going to fail. And then
You are going to fail.
Yeah.
If you lie to yourself in your budget, you're going to fail.
Yep.
Unequivocally, that's going to happen.
Yep.
So don't lie.
All right. And then the next one is give it time. So chances are pretty high that you won't have a perfect first month of budgeting. In fact, it usually takes 2 to 3 months to become proficient at budgeting. So give it time. Just because it doesn't work the first month, make the adjustments that you need. So if there's other expenses that you forgot, make sure to add those in the next month that you're doing it.
Yeah.
But give yourself those 2 to 3 months.
I would correct a little bit how you said it. Just because it didn't work the first time, I'd say it's going to work the first month. Just because it didn't work perfectly. We all want perfect.
Right.
But it's a moving target, but you're going to get better the first month. You won't be perfect. It won't be 100% correct. That's why the we forgot, I forgot, Joe forgot category is really important. But at the end of the day, when you prepare a budget, you list out your expenses and income, expected income, you type all those numbers into the budget tool, and then you make those adjustments to make it exactly zero, trademark easy, and then you have your best bet to live according to the budget. And I'm telling you, when you do this, how will life be when you've done it for 1 month? What will be like when you've done it for 12 months? Hey, what will it look like when you've done it for nearly 20 years like I have? You'll be so far ahead, and you'll be so glad you did. Share the quote or verse that we want to share today.
Yes. So today we're sharing a verse. It comes from Luke 14, and it's 28 through 30. And it says, suppose one of you wants to build a tower. Won't you first sit down and estimate the cost to see if you have enough money to complete it? For if you lay the foundation and are not able to finish, everyone who sees it will ridicule you, saying, this person began to build and wasn't able to finish.
That's really awesome. And that is Jesus himself saying those words. He's saying, before you get started, sit down. Sometimes you got to sit down and estimate the cost, because you're going to get a little woozy if you're standing up. And so I just encourage you, have a plan so that you can finish well. We want you to finish well and live that fully funded life. Hey, our next episode is going to be a success story. It's going to be a couple who's going to share their success story and how they did it. And we can't wait to share that with you. If you like today's episode, please help us get this podcast to other people. The greatest compliment you can give us is to share it. And share it on your favorite social media platform. If you're watching us on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, hit that little bell. It'll notify you every single time a new episode is available. And again, if you know somebody who's not budgeting well or needs help learning this important skill set, be sure to share this episode with them. We know that they'll be so glad that you did. So as we part ways on this great Monday, what's the one word you'd tell everybody as we really wrap up this month of January already?
Yeah, I would say discipline and diligence. I'm going to add two. But
there you go.
I know a lot of people, you get, like we talked about, you get to the end of January and your resolutions have kind of gone out the window. You're not going to the gym anymore. You're not doing this, you're not doing that. But make sure budgeting is one of those things that you stick to. So it requires discipline to stick to it and prepare it every month. Each month will get easier and easier, and it'll take less and less time, in the beginning. But stick to it, be disciplined in it, and you'll be able to see the results 12 months down the road.
You've got it. Go climb the ladder. Live a fully funded life.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Monday Money Tip Podcast, presented by I Was Broke, Now I'm Not. If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave a review and subscribe. And for more great content and to stay up to date, visit iwbnin.com. We'll catch you next time.